Media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team. The Amba War Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort, while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not founded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Ambazonia die as a wish, because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. As we plan to draft Undaunted this weekend, it is important to remark that Undaunted has made Ambazonia proud for a while now, not forgetting that Nijo, whom we also hope to have in the course of the news tonight, is from Undaunted. Well, it is 6 years now and counting that Southern Cameroonians are decrying the marginalization they are suffering from the hands of the colonial La République du Cameroon. And what has been done? The fact that since 2019, after the so-called major national dialogue was held, the war in southern Cameroon is not yet abated is a proof that it was a non-event. The international communities and some human rights groups have been calling for the Yaoundé regime to convene a genuine and inclusive dialogue, and the colonial regime of La République du Cameroon is still adamant to that. But ironically, when you examine the situation in the two Cameroons as we speak, you won't agree any less with us that the economic sabotage by the Ambazonian Restoration Forces is bringing big wins for the nation of Ambazonia. We'll look into these and more, but first, let's get the prime headlines.
Prime headlines for today, August 25th, 2022. US and UN on show trials in Ukrainian prisoner of war status. Togo achieves a major feat of eliminating 4 neglected tropical diseases. Today we're going to be looking at the colonial ministers of secondary education as they beg teachers. We'll also look at an overview of Undaunted as we draft. China warns Canada over planned Taiwan visit by parliamentarians. Undaunted County draft this Saturday, Find out more about Nkokentuje, its villages and history. Bishop requests for fresh dialogue to end the so-called Anglophone crisis. And in sports today, we will bring to you Carabao Cup draw as Man City versus Chelsea meets in third round. Trials of Ukrainian prisoner of war status by Russian authorities could start within days, the UN Human Rights Office said, as it warned that such proceedings could amount to war crimes under the international law. UN expresses concern over possible trials of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Trials of Ukrainian POWs by Russian authorities could start within days, the UN Human Rights Office said, as it warned that such proceedings could cause and amount to war crimes under the international law. How can you define the prisoner of war POW status? Now, these are soldiers who are captured, placed into captive or prisoner of war status as far as the Geneva Convention is concerned. Now, in particular, their captive or POW status is designated to one who, while engaged in combat under orders of their government, is captured by the armed forces of the enemy rather. Now, once POW status is determined, the authority for payment of the soldiers is moved from the field finance offices to the Secretary of the Treasury. And this is where we begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. I am Onyi and as always, Star Smart is here. Good evening, Star.
Good evening, Onyi. Photos and videos circulating in news reports and on social media says, quote, appear to show metal cages being built in Mariupol's Philharmonic Hall, apparently to restrain prisoners of war during proceedings. DPA news agency quoted Ravina Shamdasani, spokesperson for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, as saying in a statement on Tuesday. The number of prisoners to be tried, the charges, and the composition of the court were all unclear, she said. The UN has demanded the prisoners to be allowed access to independent visitors. Shamdasani said the UN Human Rights Office fears death sentences will be handed out by what occupation authorities are falsely calling an international tribunal, and that credible reports have been seen that suggest some of the Ukrainians being held have been tortured. Quote, we recall that international humanitarian law prohibits the establishment of courts solely to judge prisoners of war, and that willfully depriving a prisoner of war of the rights of fair and regular trial amounts to a war crime. This is what she said.
Now, according to the Moscow-backed separatist leader in Ukraine Eastern Donetsk region, Denis Pushlin, investigations have been completed in 80 cases and 23 people have been arrested. The International Committee of the Red Cross said it has been able to see some POWs since the Russian attack began in February, but not all. Now, in many cases, access has been denied or there have been no security guarantees for staff, it said. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that negotiations between Ukraine and Russia will be cut off if trials in Mariupol takes place. Meanwhile, U.S. condemns possible Russian trials of Ukrainian POWs in Mariupol as well as calls it illegitimate. The United States on August 24, 2022 condemned any Russian attempt to hold trials and tribunals for prisoners of war in the occupied Ukrainian city of Mariupol.
Now, according to U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Prince, Moscow is attempting to shift blame for the invasion of Ukraine. Ned Prince claimed that in accordance with the Geneva Conventions, all members of Ukraine's armed forces, including both Domestic and foreign volunteers incorporated into the armed forces are entitled to the prisoner of war status if they are taken prisoner and must be provided with the care and protection consistent with that status. Now, the fighters who were apprehended while defending the once besieged Azovstal steel plant will be displayed in cages in Mariupol's Philharmonic Hall, according to reports. Captured Ukrainian combatants could be paraded on stage in cages from a public prison in Mariupol during the long-awaited show trial of prisoners of war. According to Ravina Shamdasani of the United Nations Human Rights Office, pro-Russian official appears to be erecting metal cages in a Mariupol hall as part of plan to establish an international tribunal. Let's have Gabelison's report on this.
China warns Canada over planned Taiwan visit by parliamentarians. Beijing threatens forceful measures if Canada interferes as MPs plan trade delegation to Taipei later this year. China warned it will take forceful measures if Canada interferes in Taiwan a week after it emerged that a delegation of Canadian parliamentarians was planning to visit the island later this year to explore trade opportunities. China claims Taiwan as its territory under its One China principle and objects to foreign politicians visiting the island. Democratically governed Taiwan rejects China's claims. We urge the Canadian side to abide by the One China principle and respect China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, the Chinese embassy in Canada said in a statement sent late on Tuesday. China will take resolute and forceful measures against any country that attempts to interfere with or infringe upon China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, the Chinese embassy said. Members of a Canada-Taiwan Parliamentary Friendship Group, which does not receive administrative or financial support from the Canadian Parliament, had been planning to visit the self-ruled island in October, the Liberal MP Judy said last week. Judy said the trip would focus on trade and the lawmakers' intent was not to disrupt and cause problems for Taiwan or with China. In a statement, Canada's government said parliamentary associations and friendship groups were independent and it respected the lawmakers' intent to visit Taiwan. Canada, like the rest of the West, follows a One China policy which recognizes Beijing, not Taipei, diplomatically, while unofficially it supports Taiwan. The relationship between China and the West has worsened since U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan earlier this month against Beijing's wishes. This is definitely not good news for global peace lovers. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
Now, Togo has been praised by the World Health Organization for becoming the first country in the world to eliminate 4 neglected tropical diseases. The WHO presented the West African country with an Outstanding Achievement Award this week for eliminating guinea worm, lymphatic filariasis, sleeping sickness, and trachoma in just 11 years. Togo has achieved a major feat, said Dr. Mashito Mweti, the WHO's Regional Director for Africa. Now, in his words, he says, this achievement is an example for the rest of Africa and shows what is possible when health is made a priority. The country eliminated guinea worm in 2011, then became the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to stamp out lymphatic filariasis in 2017 and sleeping sickness in 2020. This year, it successfully eliminated trachoma. Togo's President Faure Gnassingbé says, and I quote, "Health is a priority that we have placed at the heart of our development policies. Neglected tropical diseases, NTDs, are a group of 20 preventable, treatable conditions that are often left out of health budgets and global funding priorities." Now, efforts to control or eradicate the diseases were ramped up in 2012 when 100 donor countries, private philanthropists, pharmaceutical companies, research institutions, and civil society organizations came together to endorse the London Declaration to control or eliminate 10 NTDs by 2020.
Now, since 2012, 46 countries have eliminated at least one entity, and more than 14 billion treatments have been donated by pharmaceutical companies. 3 months ago, world leaders meeting in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, reconfirmed their commitment and agreed to eradicating NTDs by 2030. About 1.7 billion people around the world are still affected by NTDs, which can disfigure and disable, trapping individuals and whole communities in cycles of extreme poverty. About 40% of people affected by NTDs live in Africa. The number of people requiring treatment for at least one disease on the continent is slowly falling. In 2015, 630 million people were in need of treatment, and by 2020, the figure had reduced to 598 million people. Toko Elthik-Puli, the director of the Global Partnership Uniting to Combat Neglected Tropical Diseases, said Togo's success was due to committed country and political ownership. He says, "I hope the leaders across Africa are inspired by the incredible actions taken by Togo to transform the health of its citizens," she said. Last year, the organization warned that the UK government aid cuts could have a devastating impact on progress to tackle NTDs. "We have a small favor to ask," she says. "Tens of millions have placed their trust in the Guardian's fearless more than 1.5 million supporters from 180 countries now power us financially, keeping us open to all and fiercely independent." Now,
unlike many others, the Guardian...
Actually, we'll be back after this break.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa.
Sorry about the impromptu break. Well, speaking of Togo, in Africa, eradicating 4 neglected tropical diseases in Africa has called for a celebration from the World Health Organization, and it calls for accolades all across Africa, where we have this other story in regards to bishops requesting for fresh dialogue to end the so-called Anglophone crisis. Onya, I believe you have something on that.
Yeah, it is 6 years now and counting that Southern Cameroonians are decrying the marginalization they are suffering from the hands of the colonial La République du Cameroon. Now, in 2016, that Southern Cameroonians presented facts of marginalization under 2 institutions, lawyers and teachers. The colonial government of Paul Biya opted for suppression to push the lawyers and teachers back home. Now, in January 2017, the peaceful demonstration moved into an armed conflict after the colonial president Paul Biya declared war on the people of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Since then, human rights groups have been mounting pressure on the Yaoundé regime to go in for a genuine dialogue to resolve what they would rather call the Anglophone crisis. They have created hashtags to end the Anglophone crisis to sell a false agenda to narrow down the problem into a language problem. Anyways, our news director, Tara Paddy King, believes that there is no Anglophone crisis in the Cameroons, and therefore you cannot end what doesn't exist.
Let me take you through memory lane. In November 2019, the colonial regime of Paul Biya, under pressure, convened the as called major national dialogue that many political analysts qualified only as a monologue. The fact that since then, 2019, after the as-called major national dialogue was held, the war in southern Cameroon is not yet abated is a proof that it was a non-event. The international communities and some human rights groups have been calling for the Yaoundé regime to convene a genuine and inclusive dialogue, and the colonial regime of La République du Cameroon is still adamant to that. This time around, they are the bishops who are calling on the Yaoundé regime to organize a more inclusive dialogue to end the war in southern Cameroon. Well, why is the colonial regime of Paul Biya hesitant to organize a more inclusive dialogue? The bishops of the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference, BAPEC, in their 37th ordinary meeting in Boya, have repeatedly called for fresh dialogue to end the Anglophone crisis. What do they call fresh dialogue? That's a critical question. We thought there's the Swiss-led mediation which is paramount and genuine to Ambazonia, but whatever that part, it only indicates a little bit of unseriousness on the side of the initiators. Now, this call came as the bishops were meeting to reflect on the pastoral and challenges that have affected the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda. The BAPEC is made up of the Diocese of Bamenda, Boya, Jumbo, Mamfe, and Kumba, coming from the bishops, representatives of sacred institutions. Well, will the colonial ruler Paul Biya come out of his rigid military option? We can only wait and see the result.
All right, we have we have SOS Nijo and SOS Francis Chingy here in the studio. We just want to ensure that they've been following the news, and we also want to get their thoughts and opinions and analyze critically the story of the bishops on Anglophone crisis. A very sound greetings to you, SOS Nijo, and of course to SOS Francis Chingy.
Hello, ladies, Onye and Star, and of course, I'm blessed and privileged to have Secretary of State Frank with me this evening. But let me focus on the ladies first and pay all my homage and your technical team, ladies, and of course, our invariable, infatigable restoration forces, particularly those of Bui recently and Gokutunja, of course, all through the years. And before I, Secretary of State, we have we do a little game when we come on ABC here. We know it's business, but let us play a game, and this game is a game of syllables. Okay, so Lady Onye and Star, are you there? Okay, I'll start with what we all know. Ni Joe. That's two syllables. Ni, so that is between Ni and Joe. Onye Opala. So this 5 syllables is Onye Opala. Star, smart. 4 syllables is. Right. What we don't know is Ngo Ketunja. 5 syllables with a little split after Ngo. So as you say, Ni Joe, Star smart, Onye Opala, we're going to do same. Ngo. Then we take a little break, insignificant, then we do Ketunja. Okay? I don't want you to keep biting your tongue.
All right, so that's not a challenge. We can actually try. We can actually try that out. So it's okay. Let's try that out.
Today,
and I'm sure that
tomorrow,
Ambazonians in the diaspora can also learn
Sunday,
as well.
Monday. So we might as well get it right. So it's Ngo Ketunja, 5 syllables. Okpa, or no, Onye Opala. Yeah? Same thing, 5 syllables. Onye Opala. Ngo Ketunja. Yeah? Simple.
All right.
Nijo. Star. Smart. 4 syllables. Okay? I'm saving you a lot of headache because we drafting Okutunja on Saturday, so you have to do it tomorrow, you have to do it on Saturday, you have to do it on Sunday and Monday. So we might as well spend these 2 minutes and get it right. And I hope you have fun doing that. Secretary of State, over to you. You can add some syllables if you want.
All right, Nijo, thank you. Thanks to the anchor ladies, fellow televiewers, Ambazonians, 21 gun salute to the ARFs for their wonderful job. Um, I'm privileged to be here today to say one or two things to the people of Ambazonia and equally to encourage the people of Ambazonia to join us in Kitunja on Saturday to draft. Kitunja is my birthplace. I'm proudly from Kitunja, and we all know what Kitunja has been doing in this revolution. It's the Baghdad of this revolution right now, and we want to keep Baghdad hot because the enemy is bleeding, and they know that whenever their mission is to go across Kitunja, their first prayer is they should make their last calls to their family. We will continue to hold our fire, and that can only be done through drafting. So I'll be happy to take any questions about the draft, and I'll equally want to read it from the portion of the news that our uncle ladies mentioned the bishops of the conference calling for fresh dialogue. This is because they are coming to reality with what is happening. Unfortunately for our bishops, this revolution has gone past the level of using the word dialogue. I would rather pray the bishops can go back into their bishops' conclave and come out with the word mediation. The Republic has only one choice: meet us in Switzerland or continue the fight. If I really want to see peace return in these two communities, then their prayer should be for La Republique to come to the table and stop this carnage, or anything short of that will not be welcome. Who is with who? What do they mean by fresh dialogue? Who's going to be invited to that dialogue table? Is it not going to be the same people? Yes, they can go ahead and analyze the national dialogue phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4 or whatever. But all of that are wasted resources. The economic sabotage will continue, and our territory must be liberated. That's the little I can say. For the syllabuses, Nijo, you did excellently on that. Um, Ngo Kitunja, which means is on top of a house. It's a wonderful place. It harbors in the plains where we have very fertile soil. We have a good portion of the Baminging Dam that is possible to even supply electricity to almost half of West Africa, but because it's being harbored in their so-called Anglophone section, they will ignore that, same as they did to Menchum, and go uh, dams that they are actually digging sand out of to generate electricity, and yet people are unable to get electricity. So I will leave it to that more in the course of questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, SOS Francis Chingy. All right, Nijo. All right, thank you for the English class, or should we say the Ngoken Tuja class, right?
Thank you. You got
Right,
it.
thank you. Meanwhile, let's just hear your thought on these. Now, your friend, our news director, Tapa the King, thinks that there is no crisis since they are labeling the crisis as a language problem. Now, what would you have to say about that?
Thank you, Onye, and thank you, Secretary of State, for that input. I think when we were much younger and we were struggling to express ourselves in a borrowed language, English, we had a say in the primary school that selling after the market. So you come in to sell your products when the market is closed. This is what the bishops are doing. The bishops, I mean, any African, let alone a Cameroonian and a Southern Cameroonian, who today is the 25th of August, 2022, does not recognize that this situation with the Southern Cameroon problem, they call it, is gone beyond the frontiers of La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons put together. They are selectively making headlines, but these headlines are a waste of time, a waste of resources, and I would say belittling their institution. What do you call them? Priests. I think if any authorities or any institutions within the frontiers of La République and Southern Cameroons put together were to understand the situation as it stands with Southern Cameroonians and La République, one of those institutions should be the institution of the church. And the church leaders should know better and should know by now that honesty and honestly, this the war or they have a description on their media. They call it war in the northwest and southwest. So for because we are referring to them, let us use that, the war in the northwest and southwest situation, to resolve it. Institutions in Cameroon, the parliament, the cabinet, well, if they have a cabinet, informed citizens of La République and Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians, all of these institutions by now, again, is the 25th of August 2022. Any one of them who is honest to themselves and honest in trying to resolve this issue should know that we need, as Secretary of State said, we don't need a dialogue, we need mediation. Mediation is a situation where you mediate, you come and meet people of, as far as the union between, or the fake union between La Republic and Southern Cameroon is concerned, we are in a position where the international community is aware that this issue is beyond the cabinet or the president or the authority of La République du Cameroon, and so have created a platform, is published, documented. Other governments, a third party is waiting to resolve, to look into this matter. So if you have priests who actually sit down and pray for other people and also pray for themselves, actually think that they can resolve this issue with the word dialogue or an enlarged dialogue, I can't remember exact words, I think is a waste of energy and generating unnecessary headlines. There's not much I can add to it, but it's just a waste of effort. They're pretending to themselves. It's a shame I say that, but when you have priests, people of God, people who pray, people whose mission is to bring peace and justice, think that on the 25th of August 2022, a war that was started in 2017, 45,000 Southern Cameroonians has been murdered, homes have been razed, populations have been displaced internationally. Ghana knows, Nigeria knows, European communities know, Ambazonians know, those are informed, that Republic citizens know, and the priests who are meant to promote peace and justice still feel that they can selectively discuss this issue under the forum of a dialogue. I think it's a pity. And if any one of them were listening to ABC TV tonight, they should go and hang their heads in shame, calling themselves priests in a country that is torn of war for 6 years and thousands of citizens killed. And what do I?
I can understand the emotions there, but it's terrible how these priests are not living by what they are supposed to have integrity for. But then, you know what they say about those that probably focus on only where their tummy is, or probably focus on only where they can benefit from. So much to say, but we'll keep on looking at how the event will take turns as the time goes by. But Niger, please, would want you to still sit back. Also what our SOS for Defense, Francis Chinny, to still sit back. We have more reports coming in, so please just hold on for us. Thank you.
Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
It is evident that the colonial government of La Republic du Cameroon is failing in her responsibility to fulfill the engagement with teachers. To compel this colonial government to pay their dues, teachers announced a planned strike action. Nothing, as in nothing, can come out of the colonial regime of Paul Biya without the beneficiaries fighting for it, without pressure. That which is supposed to be normal, which other governments cannot do, or which other governments do with ease, is very difficult for colonial Biya's regime. Why must there be strike action for the colonial government of Paul Biya to take appropriate actions? A letter dated 19th August, signed by the Colonial Minister of Secondary Education and addressed to all leaders of Teachers Union, has been reviewed. In the letter, the colonial government, through the in-house slave Nalova Yonga, is trying to defuse a movement that could compromise the next school year, scheduled to open for 5th of September.
Speaking of 5th September, on August 15th, the Movement of Secondary School Teachers, OTS, and Primary School Teachers, OTA, as well as the Union of Cameroonian Teachers for Africa, signed a joint letter of notice of strike for the start of the school year. The letter was addressed to the in-house Prime Minister and in-house Minister of Secondary Education. During a consultation meeting of August 24th, the in-house minister Nalova Lyonga pleads the educational actors gives time to the colonial government to settle their demands while they occupy their respective functions as schools resume. The trade union members were skeptical about halting the planned strike action, but reluctantly agreed on postponing the strike on a condition that the colonial government acts immediately in making living conditions better for them. Further details were not unveiled to the press. In this document, the signatories announced that if nothing is done to resolve the teachers' demand, The strike will begin with the boycott of the start of the 2022-2023 school year, continued with the boycott of the first-term General Assembly, and continued with the dead chalk operation. OTS-OTA and SECA list 28 grievances in their letter. These include the payment of all the arrears due to teachers, the pure and simple abolition of the 2/3 and 1/3 system in pay advances, the automation of financial effects, and the revision of the special status of teachers.
Now, these demands were already contained in the reasons for the strike launched by the OTS last January. After several consultations, the colonial government made some commitments, but according to the teachers, it has not respected them all, hence this new strike. Now, when you examine the situation in the two Cameroons as we speak, you won't agree any less with us that the economic sabotage by the Ambazonia restoration forces is bringing big wins for the nation of Ambazonia. Now, while the colonial administration is struggling to ensure normalcy, denying the effects of the war, the interim government is drafting county by county, emerging with great funds. Now, a lot is happening, and you sure want to be part and to see the next level as we take Ngwa for the draft this weekend. All right, let's get to hear from our in-house analyst and guest today, their thought on this. It seems like for anything to be achieved for the Southern Cameroonians, they must struggle for it. They must, beg and, cry out before basic things are given to them. Today, we are not talking about roads. So we are not struggling for roads today. We're talking about somebody getting paid for a work done. How difficult can it be? Nijo, would you want to start first?
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. When you say the Southern Cameroonians have to beg for, or Cameroonians have to beg for whatever is needed, I think that's a very subtle word. I remember when I was in high school, the issue of the GCSEs strike started, and I remember that we had to march about between 15 and 20 miles to get from Bambali to Bamenda's upstation and governor's office to say that we do not want the GCSEs changed. And then it was GCE. Effectively, they've gone around and done it anyway. Last week, I had reports from Homefront that GCE results were out, and one of the candidates had 6 A levels. And you want to see my expression of shock. And so I thought they were mixing the ordinary level and advanced. In effect, they meant that this candidate had 6 A levels, advanced levels. So this is the Cameroonian issue. So they have a pattern of behavior to assimilate us, to assimilate Southern Cameroonians, and no matter what. When you say beg, what I'm bringing this story is just to tell you that once they have put their foot down that they're going to do this, they can only delay it a couple of years. They go back to it. So this is GCE in Cameroon now, being marked somewhere in Yaoundé, and a candidate doing A levels now scores 6 A level papers. Right, and everyone who knows what GCE is advanced level will tell you the maximum number you can get, and in the days of London is 5. So, but when you cross over to France, what they call the baccalaureate, you could have 8, you could have 7 A levels. And this is exactly what they have done. So, despite all of the struggles that we have had over the years to maintain the standards of the GCE, they have gone round and put their foot down and changed it from what when I was still in high school. That was many years ago, many years. In 1983, 84, or 85, or 86, and they have come back to do it now. So when I'm just trying to let you know that this issue, when you say you beg for what you're entitled to, as in salaries and the rest of it. Well, the good thing is with the salaries is that they can't afford it anyway. So I'm not sure what promise they gave newspapers from your news reading there. You said something, or it wasn't told, the public wasn't informed what they have agreed. But the benefit of our economic sabotage is beginning to materialize, and these are the signs that you might as well remind those bishops that the the, the, the the bottom line of the strike, or the origin of this strike, or this potential strike by teachers, is due to this war that to them they think a dialogue can resolve it. And so as they keep pretending and thinking that we can do an enlarged dialogue to solve this, there are many more complicated issues, because the interim government of the Southern Cameroons have embarked on economic sabotage. We would bleed them flat. That is the new policy. And until they arrange not a dialogue, but a mediation, and we meet some way to settle, they'll continue to spiral downwards. There is no turning back from this position. Thank you. Maybe Secretary of State can add more to this.
All right, Secretary of State, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Secretary Nijo. Um, I think it's very, very clear, you know. One of the first reasons why we as Ambazonians, um, we stand distinguished to fight to do it our own way is because we have seen over the last 60 years that the sister republic cannot work with us. The first thing is the people are too greedy and they don't care about their population. You understand that you are just as strong as your population. And if you develop a society, you have individuals that are owning a country, then you are heading towards doom. Their inability to pay, Secretary Nijo rightly puts it, is due to the economic sabotage. You are fully aware that a bunch of their resources are coming out of our territory. It's been Ambazonia that has been feeding them, and they have never appreciated that. So it's high time we cut them off from our resources, therefore pushing them to the edge where their report card at the level of borrowing at the international community is all red. No community or no international organization is willing to borrow them money. And back home, the little that they were tapping from us, we have crippled them to a point where they cannot even pay their salaries. To the teachers, we of the interim government are still calling on those that are daydreaming that can do it better than Ambazonia to know that they are just wasting their time. Once Ambazonians have their total and unconditional freedom, I bet you the teachers will be surprised how much their salary will be. Bet the quality of life will be awesome, giving them the opportunity to work in this environment. Now, coming back to the system of education Nijo mentioned here, it's rather unfortunate that they have watered down everything to a point where If you even go look at how GC is being marked, you'll see that of those instructors marking the GCE cannot even construct a sentence in English. But unfortunately, these are the same people to read an essay and pass a student based on the merits of that question. I mean, I understand sometimes they feel that those of us fighting to, liberate this country are just some greedy folks. No, teacher back home too. I was a GCA examiner for a couple of years, and I know what I'm saying. Same with Secretary Nijo. So we are not just speaking out of the bloom, but we are talking with facts. A system that we witnessed, a system that we were part of. And for some of us that even studied following the British curriculum, we understand it means when we are talking about having 6 papers at the advanced level. It's not easy. Come, did that student even register up to 6 papers? Why would they allow people to register 6 papers when the maximum was 5? All this water down is just to make our system look very, very inferior in the presence of the international community. So we are all our Anglophone, as they call us, our Anglophone brothers and sisters that are still believing in leak, to know that we have gone past that time. We are now Ambazonians. We have our own system of education. We have our own curriculum that we will be respecting, and we want to discontinue anything with that. Please work with this interim government, work with our people to bring back the glorious days that our forefathers created for us, the Ambazonians.
All right.
Thank you, and we look forward to working with our teachers back home to make sure we are on track.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, SOS Francis Chinye. Now, let's say that these teachers eventually go on a strike and probably school does not resume by September 5th that it was initially slotted to start. Don't you think that the education of their students would be affected? Because, I mean, in other climes, you find out that they do not play with education. I think it's only in Africa that you find where probably teachers and lecturers are going on strike and then government do not care. But now let's look at it from this other angle. Let's say that these teachers eventually go on the strike. Don't you think that the education of our brothers and sisters back home would be affected? And if it's affected, their results would definitely be affected as well.
Well, let me come in here quick before Nijo comes in. I want us to first of all understand that all what we are explaining here are for our runaway brothers that have crossed over to the French side, and they are, helping them there. These strikes do not concern us because there's nothing like school in our communities, So it's all about on their own side. La Republique can deal with that. If the teachers want to be on strike for 100, let them go on strike. All we are making sure is no resources will go over there so that they can make money to pay those teachers. As far as they don't pay their teachers, their own school system will crumble. As for those few establishments that are trying within Ambazonia to claim that they are going to school, we continue to warn them. They are a lot of security threats, and this interim government will never encourage them to open their doors because those are security threats. The Republic will always encourage to open their doors, and then the next Republic will be the same people to attack that protected area, and it was the handwork of the separatists. We are warning parents, September 5th is no in Ambazonia for schools. If you are letting your child come out of the house that they are going to school, you are doing that at your own risk. This interim government is advising parents to consider the safety of their children to be more important than trying to push them to go into a public arena that may cause some casualties or even death. So I'll leave the rest to Nijo.
All right.
Yeah, thank
Nijo,
you.
you want to say something there before we move
Yeah, and
on?
just
All right,
quick.
go ahead,
I'm
sir.
not sure how much time we have, but I think Secretary of State is said it. I just want to add a dimension to it. Onye. The strike is just another addition to the chaotic system that is there already. This, now, you would think that during the strike, students would lose some learning time, as you're saying, if they were learning in the first place. Don't forget that the position of the interim government, as Secretary of State has mentioned, was when we started this, initially we thought Ghana lost 2 academic years when they were in a situation where they were trying to sort out their system and came back and made it up. And Ghana has one of the top qualifications in Africa educational setups because they 2 years and then came back and set up everything as they wanted. When this started, when this war started, the position of this government was for parents to, for security's sake and for the chaos in schools, to withdraw their students, their children, until this war is resolved. This war is completed or resolved in one way or the issue, or one way or another. First, one of the grievances that spark all of this is that French teachers were being sent to teach in English schools. Now, these are two parallel systems of education, very unconnected. One of the first things in primary school, they complete after 6 years, or say 5 years. In the English Anglo-Saxon is after 7 years. We go to secondary school, you do 5 years, and then you do 2 years in high school and go to university. They do a 4 year, and then a 2 year, a 3 year, and then university. So there are two unconnected systems. And all they've done is, as Secretary of State said, they're trying to weaken our system of education so that no international, no country, no international organization would employ Southern Cameroonians. And so they have dwindled the education system, send French speaking teachers to go and teach in English speaking schools when they don't know anything. They don't know the syllabus, the students don't understand them. I mean, it's chaos. So all I'm trying to say is that the strike would have meant anything. The candidates were losing work or the students were going to lose work if the school system was functioning anyway. But the school system is a tick box exercise. All they're doing is, the parents who are sending their children to school now is just to be considered as a parent who is sponsoring the child. There is no learning taking place because these students don't understand the teachers. They don't have a syllabus. In my previous input, I said an A level student had 6 A levels in sixth form. I forgot to add that. That was in sixth form, 6 A levels. And they had a chance to do 8, but unfortunately failed 2 and had 6 in sixth form. Now, who is that employer? Cisco, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services. Who of these world employers would take a candidate, would employ a candidate from an English speaking country's education system who has done 1 year in sixth form and has scored 8 A levels? Or let's go back to 6 A levels in sixth form. So what we're saying schools are going on in southern Cameroon or in Cameroon generally is a waste of time. There is no education taking place. And these guys are doing this on purpose. They are blocking the southern Cameroonians from progressing so that international organization cannot accept their qualifications. So a strike is just coming to add on top of the chaos in the first place. So don't be sympathetic that the strike or the candidates or the students are going to lose some work. They're not
All right.
learning in the first place. As far as I'm
All right,
concerned, there's
Joe,
no
please
education
let me
taking place
come
in
in
that.
there. Let me come in there a bit. Um, let me just come in there a bit, please. Just hang on there. Now, if we say that you've said it, and also SOS Francis Chin has also said it, so it's established that there is no form of education. You know, the strike is just to make it look like something is going on. We've agreed and established that as a fact. Now, those who are not going to school right now, is there a possibility of probably the parents homeschooling them? Because I mean, there is one thing to allow others deceive you, then there is another thing deceiving yourself. You know, you made mention of parents just making it look like they are actually sponsoring their kids, whereas there is no form of education. So now, in telling yourself the truth, shouldn't it just be more like a home teaching process? Because SOS for self-defense. Now I'm talking about it because he's talking about self-defense. I mean, he represents a whole lot of persons here. Now, if he says that people shouldn't come out or students shouldn't go to school by September 5th, that they are supposed to resume because it's more likely to be a ploy to create danger and all of that around the neighborhoods and all of that. So are we saying that they should stay at home? And if they stay at home, what is the best process for them to learn? Because at the end of the day, just like you've mentioned, who would employ some persons with such certificates and probably such knowledge? So what is the best way forward? Because I'm sure that the interim government is always here to prefer solutions. And so what is the best way forward?
Yeah, you want
Let
me
me
to
let
chip
me
in there
come in
before
there.
Secretary of State comes? Okay, Secretary, you can go. But I was sorry. I was just going to say I'll be brief here. Many hands do light work. If all Southern Cameroonian parents and students and this priest that we just talked about and everybody who has an interest in this movement, in the issue of the independence that this IG is for, if every person, hands on deck, stayed at home and said, we're not doing this school, this kind of education because you have changed everything. This is not what we used to study because most of these parents went to school. Most of these parents are university graduates. Most of these parents have A levels. And you let your child go and sit 8 A levels in seat 4, and you're telling me that that student who is taught in English section by a francophone all of a sudden has covered the work for 2 years, has done all the practicals, has done everything, and has become a genius and can go into university, and after 3 years would come out with a qualification and you would employ them? This is a joke. This is a joke at a national level. So all to answer your question briefly, what should happen now is for every Ambazonian, every Southern Cameroonian to join hands with the interim government and make sure everybody is concerned with this. If it's ghost town, let it be 100%. And then keep your child at school, at home. You asked about home tutoring. You would do home tutoring if the education system is designed to allow candidates to be able to sit the exams on their own or externally. But this is all chaos in Cameroon. I don't think the Francophones have a mentality of running the English speaking system of education as to allow external candidates. And you do external candidates when you have the when you study on your own, the work that you're supposed to cover should be more than when you do in a group, because you have to work all of the work that you're supposed to do in a group, you do it by yourself. So it's supposed to take longer for you to understand and cover all of the work. So this is the way forward, is for everybody to join this government and stay away from this fake education system. let everybody know that the system has collapsed. The teachers are francophones. They're coming to teach English subjects. They're soon going on strike. So you want your child to stay at home because the next thing is you have the bees moving around and you have another massacre in another school when candidates or when parents try to arrange holiday classes for their children. This is the next thing. Just listen. Well, the expert is here on security. Maybe he can say something else, but I think the best way forward is for every southern Cameroonian to withdraw from this pretentious education system and hold a child at home until this issue and force La Republique to the negotiating table for us to resolve this issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's hear the final thought of Francis Chingy here on this particular issue. SOS, let's hear your final thought on this particular issue.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Secretary Nijo, for that eloquent response. And I really want Amazonians to understand that what we are fighting for is bigger than an educational system. And for us to achieve that, there must be some give and take. Um, we have been going now for over 5 academic years without effective schooling in Ambazonia. And we understand truly that it's a big change for our people at the home front, especially um, our very young Ambazonians that might end up not even knowing how to write their name. However, um, the interim government has always been against the system of education, not per se. So there is a difference between condemning and rebuking La Republique of the system of imposing on our people and telling our people not to go. We strongly believe our parent home, our brothers and sisters can help each other in a way that can continue to keep their brains alive, especially for the pretty young ones.
Okay.
You will bear with us that we have from the beginning always encouraged the aspect of community schooling, where people in that community can actually put together the little resources they have. And in most cases, this interim government has been supporting some of the communities that have these Sunday schools that are giving the kids the opportunity to learn something. Now, the question in place is what curriculum are they using if they have to learn anything at all? We understand it's an Anglo Saxon curriculum, which is the same curriculum some of us were taught when we were growing up, but La Republique stepped in and watered down on that. And today, we are still calling on our educated brothers and sisters, parents back home, to see how they can support their students with the Anglo-Saxon curriculum that they went through. The interim government under the Department of Education is working so hard to finalize the curriculum, the Anglo-Saxon curriculum that will be used. And I think in the days ahead, we will be circulating this curriculum so that people can use curriculum for if they are doing homeschooling, they should be able to have what they are teaching our pupils or our students. If they are doing community schooling, at least they have something they can hang on to. Now, I know the question will be at the end of the year, um, final exams are they going to be taking? That is a bridge we will cross when we get to. But we have to understand that what we are fighting for now is bigger than an education system. And for now, we will strongly encourage anything in the name of schooling to be either community schooling, which is not going to permit you go out of your community, thereby limiting the amount of casualties you have, and homeschooling will be the best for the parents that are able to help their children. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, SOS for Self-Defense,
Daniel, can I
Francis
say
Chi.
something, please?
All
Two
right, of
things.
course, own Nijo, please stand by as well, as we will come back to you after this
Okay.
report, and that's
Okay.
after this break.
As we plan to draft Ngoketunja this weekend, it's important to remark that Ngoketunja has made Ambazonians proud for a while now. When we think of FM Sagon, the Sabga incident of last year, and many different occasions that Field Marshal Sagon masterminds where the colonial army is met with huge losses, you can only say this weekend is worth preparing for specially. Before we even get into that, let's get an overview of Ngoketunja County.
Ngoketunja is a county in the Midland zone of the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. It is a plain characterized by some isolated hills like Ngobe, amongst others. It is inhabited by semi-Bantu and Fulani people, and indigenous traditions and cultures remains strong.
Now, looking further into Ngoketunja County, it consists of 13 villages. You can call some, according to the interim government's geopolitical setup, as local government areas, all of which starts with Ba, denoting the people. Each of the villages has its own unique language, dialects, and traditions, using under the custodianship of a fon or chief. As such, each of the villages is a fondom under a traditional ruler called the fon. These villages are Baba 1, Babesi, Babungo, Babalang, Balingashu, Balingasin, Bangolan, Bamesing, Bamunka, Bamali, Bamukumbit, and Balikumbat.
Right, so according to Free Encyclopedia of 2006, cultural tourism is the subsect of tourism concerned with the countries of regions and culture, specifically the lifestyle of the people in specific geographical areas. For example, large cities and their cultural facilities such as museums and theaters. It can also include tourism in rural areas showcasing the traditions of the indigenous communities, like festivals, rituals, their values, and lifestyles. Now, cultural tourism has been defined as the movement of people to cultural attractions away from their usual places of residence with the intention to gather new information and experiences to satisfy their cultural needs. Hughes 1996 argues that cultural tourism tends to be applied to trip whenever cultural resources are visited, regardless of the initial motivation. Now, this term is limited by a failure to include entertainment. He classified those tourists who want to experience culture in the sense of a distinct way of life as ethnic tourists.
Now, Ngoketunja seems to be a cultural tourism location. The cultural tourism aspects or activities that are found in Ngoketunja County are traditional crafts activities such as ironsmithing, wood carving, pottery work, weaving, museums, palaces, and annual cultural festivals. Examples of pottery works are found in Bamesing and Babesi. Babungo Museum, Nikai and Nikia annual dances are performed in Babungo and Bamising respectively. Also, there is Leila annual cultural festival of Bali Kumbat people. This study will be conducted in villages that possesses resources for cultural tourism. We will bring you some more details on our study of this county during the pre-draft show on Saturday. But let's get into something that inspires draftees and prove hard work. According to reports by Kemi Ashu last night, General Viper has caused untold damage to the colonial neighboring La Republic du Cameroon military in Wainama. Claims that at least 6 colonial thugs went 6 feet. What do you think about this, Sonia?
Oh, well, I think that it is very wonderful. Winama is in Bui County, but we thought initially that the collaboration that exists between General Viper and FM Sagon along that stretch of road from Ngokentuja to Bui is worth mentioning. Now let's watch this video where he showcases his harvest. Now the harvest is in quotes. Let's see that video.
Today 24th August 2022, na ambush unit for Wainamaso. Don't go attack that caliber them for brigade. They come around all. Yes, we will get their chop. Do pa na say pa don't disappoint we. I don't disappoint we for some kind way we will not really expect. Yes. Now General Viper. General Fire.
Today.
Colonel Breeze, Captain Parambon. Commander Shoka.
Yes.
Alias Lastborn.
A day.
Yes. Now this court. Yes, we Commander Abdullah. We Colonel Tristar.
Today.
Yes. Now we don't go for Jackie so.
Shake no day.
You know he's over there now so.
There is all of a day. There is all of a day now so.
Shake no day.
Yes.
All right, so of course we have our in-house analyst. I have SOS for self-defense here, and so we'll start from the end of the story to analyze. And so SOS change. Now I'm sure that you'd want to say something about that. General Viper had something there for us. What do you think? Should that be success recorded? What is your take?
Yes, Uncle Lady. I want to, in a very special way, thank our restoration forces. Every move they make is very, very important, regardless of the size of the harvest. The first thing is these are brief Ambazonians that have given up everything to make sure that homeland is free. So taking a step as brief as attacking the enemies in their own camps and pushing them out of our territory is worth celebrating. So I want to thank away on behalf of the interim government, our brief commander, General Viper of Bui ARFs, for this great job. I want to salute all his battalion that were with him during this mission. This goes to tell the enemy that you might spin around and claim victory, claim that things have returned to normalcy, but until we sit on a table one-on-one and talk over how to end this senseless war that they launched on us, there will be no hope. The ARFs are doing an excellent job. And as you mentioned in your report, these guys, La Republic, they know so well. I'll guarantee you it's been more than 5 days. No La Republic trucks have descended Sabga going to Bui because they know. Now, they are even frightened to make that trip. So the ARFs are going for them in their small settlements. Go for them. Chase them out. They need to leave our community. and the alliance that has been existing between Ngokutunja and Bui, they have been fighting like twins. That's why you cannot separate them. So, FM Sagon, thank you for your good job. Major General Tokandu, thank you for your good job. General Viper, thank you for your good job. And all the generals within Ambazonia, thank you for your good job and keep up the fire. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, SOS Francis Chinyi. All right, SOS Nijo. Now he says that ARFs are doing excellently well. Now these are the words of our very own SOS Francis Chinyi here in the studio. He says ARFs are doing excellently well. Do you agree, or do you want to increase the excellency in your own terms? Let's hear from you.
Right. I'm going to play the old game here. I'm going to take a leave on here. I'll just spend 2 minutes and just say something before I come to this question. Something I missed to say on education. There are two types of education, right? Formal education and informal education. This war has been going on for 6 years because everyone feels that education must be formal, and so they have to go into a school. And for that reason, because schools are still going on, the international community and La République are playing these games, and this war is going on for 6 years. So if all Southern Cameroonians embarked on informal education, there is no limit in the Anglo-Saxon education system. There's no age limit from you to do a formal qualification. The example I give you is today is the 25th of August 2022, and the GCE O-level results in the UK, here where I live, were released today. And the oldest person to have their maths O-level is a 92-year-old man. Okay? That is a formal education qualification. It doesn't mean that the 92-year-old has been living as an illiterate. No, he has been living in Europe. He's been driving. He's following computers. He's been employed formally. Just he has not done a formal education and have a formal qualification does not make him an illiterate. The Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians need to recognize that when your child does not necessarily go and sit in a class and be taught by a francophone to do an qualification, that is unteaching the child. If that child stayed with you at home and learned from you informally, they will be a better citizen than going to sit and be untaught. And ladies, Star and Onye, you're sitting there, bright. I know you have qualifications from formal settings, but I also know there are 1,000 other things that you have learned informally to be where you are, to be doing the job that you're doing so well. So I think Ambazonians need to recognize that sending your children to school, giving the pretentious thing with the archbishops that they're trying to get back to normalcy, is in this game, delaying La République going able. And so it gives the impression that everything, schools are going on, so the war is not serious. If we had all withdrawn our children and just focus on informal education, this thing would have been over by now. I just thought I'd give that example that GCE level was released today in the UK, and the oldest person to have a formal qualification in a formal school setting was a 2-year-old citizen. Okay, there is no age limit to have a formal qualification. So this issue of saying, oh, children have to go to school, is just tick boxes. You're on teaching your children. Keep the child next to you. Teach them sewing. Teach them how to do their hair. Teach them how to do their farming. Teach them handicraft. Teach them other things that can make them better citizens than sending an English-speaking somebody to be taught by a francophone. It is a waste of time, waste of money. Then I can come back to the ARF. I think Secretary of State is under appreciating these guys when he said it. Remember, our ARFs are volunteers trained. Okay, these are not professionals who have been taught formally. Again, we can look at formal training, formal education, and informal education. These guys, all of what they're doing, they're benefited from this from informal education. Nobody, none of our ARFs have actually gone and sat in a class and taught. Well, I may be wrong that some of them have withdrawn and actually um, uh, moved over from La Republique to us, but majority of those who are fighting as our ARS have not been in the formal setting to be trained military skills. This is informal education, and this is what we're talking about. You don't need a school to live a successful life. So, just to add on to this, so these guys, I mean, to go and harvest what they have done from professionals, it says it all. This is the sort of education we're saying. So the La Republique actually doesn't train these people. They untrain them. Just imagine that our ARFs have not had any formal training and they can do all of these things to guys who are some of their core captains or whatever names that we read. And these are guys who have no titles. We give them general this and field marshal this and this as a formal appreciation of the work they have done. But it's no qualification, it's no academic or professional training that have attained. But they're fighting a war with people and has the right to buy equipment and fight us. And we can only get equipment through the black market or go and harvest as these guys are doing. I cannot appreciate these guys enough. And looking at Ngokotunja and Bui, it says it all. There is a common saying that many hands do light work, or that two heads are better than one. When you see Ngokotunja working with Bui, and you see you see the fate of La Republique soldiers, the bees between these two counties, then it says it all. It tells us that if we were to have Mezam join Ngokotunja and Bui and have those three counties work as one, I tell you what, these guys would be pleading for us to meet in on the table very soon. Thank you.
All right, so Nijo, just back to you. All right, Nijo, I just want you to start again. You're from Ngokentuja. All right, so you're drafting on Saturday. That's your county is drafting on Saturday. We see you at the head of affairs, of course, because of the department you are in or because of your position right now in the interim government. We see you at that very strategic point, ensuring, calculating, ensuring that all the sums are adding up and being accurate at the same time. And we've seen huge sums. So what is your county going to give to Ambazonians come Saturday?
Right. I think Secretary will be disappointed that you're taking me from Mezam to the son of Ngokotunja. To sit
It's
a
okay,
test
Joe.
for them
Joe,
to
you're done.
Oh yeah, really. We thought you were from Ngokentuja, but that's all right. But really,
I'm
what,
from the
what,
next-
what what would be your expectation then? Because I know that
Yeah, yeah.
that SOS for self defense is from Ngokentuja, right? I'm right about that.
Correct.
Yes. So probably I just
Yeah.
mixed it up there. So what
Yeah,
would be
from
your
Mezam, which is just the next county to them. So it's a mistake everyone can make. Yeah, I'll be very proud to be a son of Ngokotunja, considering
Okay,
what they're doing.
okay, but since you're
Yeah.
not right now, Nijo, then let's
Yeah.
leave you and then go to the persons whose county we
All
are
right,
coming to.
thank
So
you.
so you just have to hold on there. So please,
Yeah.
Francis Chinyi, SOS Francis Chinyi, sincerest apologies for giving your position to someone from Mizam. But now that you are here, yes, please. So tell us, what is your county planning for Ambazonians come Saturday?
Yes, thank you, Opala. I think there are no apologies here. Um, my closest neighbor is Nijo. So if I actually cry, I expect Nijo to be the first person to say, why are you crying and how can I help? So
Yeah.
if you address him as being from Gokutunja, I wouldn't be surprised, and I would take the glory because we're doing everything to adapt. some more people in us. First things first, Ngogutunja in this revolution has not only been at the forefront of self-defense. Administratively, we have done a lot. We are always proud with our achievements. Um, I think I was from Ngokutunja County, and it was the SOS position that took me out of the chairmanship because I could not double that position. And for a little close to 4 years that I was a chairman, we did a lot to lay a foundation, not a foundation that will be cracked anytime soon, because even the coup plotters, you will know, um, the main coup actually started from Ngokutunja, because that was the son of Ngokutunja that started that, but it could not crack us because we were solid. And for the last 2 years, been drafting. We have been steadily climbing um, with our draft because our speaks louder, so that motivates people to come out and draft. This year is not going to be different. We all know the success level that we hold at the level of self-defense. We can see the output on the ground. So is afraid of betting their money for action in Gokutunja. So I'm calling on the people of Ambazonia. Come out. I guarantee you that whatever you put in Gokutunja, you will be satisfied with the act. For those who just want to sit and take the glory over social media, well, the choice is yours. But know that it is very costly when we see these actions. Yes, we just celebrated the success of General Viper, but those that are sharing these messages left and right, they don't contribute a dime. That's how difficult it is. The few that are contributing, they are doing everything to see how they can move this revolution forward, and some people just to criticize, and yet they do nothing. On Saturday, the people of Ngokutunja are inviting every Ambazonian, lovers of action, friends of Ngokutunja, to come out and draft. And we guarantee you every penny you support us will be accounted for in action. The ARFs are ready and they are capable of delivering whatever objective we task them to. So please come out. I want to thank our anchor ladies for breaking the structure of Ngokutunja. Ngokutunja is made up of 3 local governments. Um, the central local government, which is made up of Bamunka, Bamali, Bamising, and Bambalang. These are the 4 that make up the local government. Now we equally have the Balikumbat local government, which is made up of Balikumbat as a village, Bamukumbit, Bafanji, Baligashu, and Baligang. So those are the 5 villages that make up Balikumbat local government. And then finally we have the Babisi local government. Babisi is on the way very close to Wainama, where the action we just saw our ARFs take is around in between Jakiri and Babisi. And Babisi is made up of Babisi as a village, Baba, Babungo, and Bangolang. So those are the 13 Ba villages that make up Ngokutunja, calling on all the sons and daughters of these villages to show up on Saturday and draft. I equally want to remind us here that Ngokutunja is one of those counties that had instituted the war tax before the draft. So it is very clear that if you do not draft, you can suffer a citizen arrest. And if you are arrested because you did not draft, please do not bother to call us, because all we're doing here now is sensitizing every Ngokutunja person, both in the diaspora and at the home front, so that you have an obligation to contribute towards this war. And we are keeping very clean records about that. So please come out and draft. The ARFs are watching and they are ready to put this draft into action. Thank you.
All right, thank you, SOS Chinyi. Now, as someone who was once a chairman of Ngokentuja, I just want to find out. Donga Mantun over the weekend got over 51 US dollars. Over. Yes, over 51 US dollars. I can see Nijo nodding, so that means it's true. Now, do you think that Ngokentuja can beat this particular amount? I mean, you also know the capacity of your people, right? Do you think that their capacity can outweigh what Dongan Mantung did over the weekend?
Can I take that? Can I take that?
Thank you, Nijo. Help me.
Yes. Yeah. I'm happy to do that. You know, that is where I come in. Yeah. And I'm happy you've got a pen, Onye and Star. Okay. The match is simple. Okay. We're drafting Ngokotunja minimum, and I need you to write this down, $165,000. Write that down.
Oh, okay.
$165,000. And I tell you how we work it out. My combi is out now phoning people. Okay. So let us get from the information that Secretary of State has given us. How many villages are there in Ngokotunja?
13.
13 villages, right? We're working from the information he has given us. Okay. Now, the minimum number of draftees per village is 10 to get that amount, okay? 10 times 13, how much is that?
130.
130, I need you to write that down. Onye, write that down, 130,000.
All right.
Okay. What is the balance? $35,000 is the balance. And Ambazonians are coming to give that to support them with $35,000. $130 is $165,000 with drafting Ngokutunja on Saturday. Now, nobody is going to allow to stay away. We, as I was saying, my company is phoning around now. We got a group of people that are already making phone calls. This target is minimum. Okay, we are happy to beat this figure, but we'll leave this as our minimum gauge. And you heard from SOS. If you are arrested because you're drafted, don't call draft. And you're not drafting once you've already been arrested, you're drafting N times, where N is more than 2. So you a number of times as decided by the ARS. But if you draft ahead of time, it's $1,000. This information is to all Ngokutunja sons and daughters who are in the diaspora, who are in, even if you are not a sympathizer of the Southern Cameroon movement for independence, we are defending your homeland. We're defending Ngokutunja. We are not defending Bui this time. We're not defending Mezam this time. It's Ngokutunja. So we are appealing for every son and daughter of Ngokutunja to come and support us. And this, we're saying, every village 10 draftees. So my village, if we were drafting, I think the minimum number of people draft at any one time from my village, and my village, a very small village in Mezam, is 15 people. Now, I don't want to take that number to the villages in Gokotunja. That's why we're cutting it down from 15 to 10. Remember? The estimates we're working on are minimum values. We are happy to exceed this. So for the 13 villages, 10 draftees per village, it's $130,000. Zonians will come, the friends of Ngokutunja, the friends of Secretary of State Frank, the friends of Dr. Mungwa, Secretary of State for Communication IT, the friends of Comrade Amos, the friends of Comrade Claude, Tondola, everybody who has something to do with Ngokutunja has their friends to come and support them. We're looking to raise $35,000 from those friends of Ngokutunja. And as I say, you cannot get through to my friend this evening or tomorrow, my combi, because she is on the phone non-stop. Okay, so this is how we're going to work this, and we are sure that Ambazonians are coming to support Gonja to beat this record. This is a minimum value. Secretary of State, how was that?
All right, fabulous. So I go
Thank
by
you.
you, and I don't
Yeah,
even want to say
thank
anything so
you,
that the
Joe.
scores do not change. All right, I don't know if you have your last words, SOS Chingy, your last words for us tonight.
Yes, yes. I think I want to thank the Secretary of Resources and Mobilization for this great analysis. Yes, Ngokutunja people. I think these villages in Ngokutunja, we have families in each of these villages. It's a disgrace we have been reduced to 10 per village because a lot of people really like to enjoy freedom, but they don't know freedom at a cost. I want to RFs in Ngokutunja, the spokesman uh, in charge of Ngokutunja ARFs, the General Fire, already sent audio. And in his audio, he made it very, very clear. I love the way these Ambazonians at the home front are putting the things out. Because sometimes when we say it here, a lot of people say, oh, no, he's sitting in his climatizé, oh, he's sitting in his, and then they're just, no, 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 no. These ARFs, they understand what we are going to fund this war. So sometimes they even explain these things better than us. It's just that sometimes it becomes a challenge to come expose their face here, but their voices are out there. And they made it very, very clear. While we are busy drafting, others are busy buying pieces of land left and right.
I know.
While we are busy drafting, others are out there building their mansions in Ambazonia
Yeah.
left and right. And these are the same people that we are pleading every day that they should draft. That is why Kutunja, we don't care. If it's time for an arrest, it is time for an arrest. And we are keeping the records from the first draft. Everybody that draft has a code number. Your records will never be thrown on social media. That is why the foundation on which Ngokutunja stand is so solid. Because those few kids that were thinking that they could take down Ngokutunja, they would have been so happy to pull down the records and drop them on social media so that they destroy this revolution. But God had to us right from creation that some of them, we don't need to give them the secret key to our room. So Ngokutunja is tied, and those records are kept. The same people that were participating to build this foundation are the same people that run on social media to say the boys are kidnapping. The ARFs have made it clear they are not kidnapping. If they come to you for draft, they need just the draft money. If you give anything above that, it is your wish. But if you think you will not give the draft money because you will call that kidnapping, just like what happened, and Major General Shao Mao is still under detention of some stupidness because he went out to implement the draft policy. And Coopers would want to call that kidnapping. You are wasting your time. Saturday is the annual draft day for Kutunja.
Thank you.
If you know you were born as a Ngogutunja person, you are required to draft. We are telling you. We are at war. Whatever country where you are, the people of that country went through hell to be what they are. And if you are enjoying there without thinking of where you come from, it will not happen. Back to Ngokutunja and bury their loved ones there. But you don't care about the security of the place. What is really going on? The ARFs have defined it. Either you draft or forget about Ngokutunja for now. And we will keep the records after independence. Even if I'm not alive, the records will be there to speak. And you will be held accountable if drafted.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, SOS Chinyi. Thank you so much, SOS Nijo. The records will definitely be there. Thank you so much for making out time to be with us on tonight's Undaunted. We are sure that we will still meet either SOS Nijo or SOS Chinyi on Saturday. All right, so after this break, we will bring you the editorial. Thank you so much for being available today.
In our editorial of today, we bring to you an article from Don Juan Obi, and he titled Survival in Warfare, Approach to Complex Situations. 1. If access to your base is wide open, especially from more than one direction, you must have a high deterrent capability, a sophisticated intelligence network, and or a dependable alarm system if to continue presence or take up position in that location. 2. If you're exposed to lethal threat less than hours to your location, you must never go blind, never become deaf, and never be stationary. Keep changing form, size, and position until threat-based features are neutralized and or adapted upon. 3. If you're facing more than one enemy bearing down on your position or neck, take out the most vulnerable one or immobilize the biggest threat while creating dependable survival relationships and permanent leverage. 4. If you're watching an enemy from a distance whose position, formation, and composition show not sign of change for days, provoke them from a different location or progress with caution for a closer assessment. Don't assume or consume the comforts of a rewarding state of insecurity. 5. If you can take or keep closer look into the enemy's activities, pay them an august, surprising visit of sorts or fortify your defenses with maximum alert. Nothing should be left in their most desired state. Every element must be investigated, tested, and or endured on the best material intelligence. 6. If the enemy's intention is wholly and totally unknown, busy it with internal survival threats and sabotage until it reveals its plan. If nothing is known about the enemy from the outside, live with it within or approach it from the inside, even as worms or rats. 7. If there is not enough manpower and firepower to defend or inflict casualties on the enemy, concentrate every arsenal on the weakest enemy position, target while making constant retreat on the elevation of threats. When aiming beyond certainty, pick a spot which has been cursed by nature. 8. If opportunities for attacks are entirely or substantially presumptuous on the outcome of victory success, more resources should be devoted to salvage the mission or rescue the most sensitive parts of it. The integrity of a mission must be preserved more than the rewards of success. 9. If the choice is presented to either defend a victim or attack an enemy, base your judgment on opportunities for survival, including the goal of your mission and the lethal capabilities, aggressive nature, and intentions of the enemy. 10. If invitations is offered to attack an enemy with potential of moving you away from a solid defensive position, either complement capabilities with long-range arsenals, move the infrastructure of defense forward, or destroy enemy's confidence with an unexpected mighty force. 11. If conditions and material are against offensive attacks and do not favor defensive provocations, improve your maneuverability in the environment to perfect track and trace. Don't make moves which do not substantiate your material disposition nor complement your survival adaptation. 12. If the logic of power in its sheer destructive size of force and little capabilities do not afford survival chances, leave no part of your strategy to doubts and assumptions. If you do not have what it takes to outrightly destroy doubts, take steps which have no doubts in between them. 13. If the potential cost of attack is too high and the burden of defense is so heavy, take the options with the most incentives for victory or the least possibility for defeat. Always remember that there is survival between victory and defeat. Sometimes the option to survive in the victory against defeat while surviving is the hope for victory. 14. If the conditions for survival do not allow for any margin of error, invest in exercises of the utmost perfect adaptation with efficient selection process and discipline. The long road to victory begins with a good day of mind sorted. Make the decisions under the sun to operate perfectly in darkness. 15. If your numbers cannot support the size and growth of your idea, you must make the enemy part of the population of your idea or acquire twice as much its survival guarantees. Do not leave strength to numbers only, but if it is crucial, then don't leave the enemy out of your ranks. 16. If your number and size of force are reduced, not as a result of enemy's activities or natural causes, the entire security enterprise and operation must be reprogrammed. Don't be cut down to insecurity by desertion, mutiny, surrender, amnesty, regrets, repentance, and on, without complete orientation. If you do not know the enemy in ways that makes you intolerable of his presence or as something dangerous to coexist with, don't point your gun out of any political pain with claims of a distinct future. Until freedom comes, we stand together. This is where Don Wanobi came to the end of his remarkable article, and this is where we come to the end of our editorial. I believe from his article today, you understand why we call him the Lord of the Realms. Well, if you want more of such articles, kindly visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for more. Become a part of this winning strategy, subscribe, and become a club member today. Find our payment details on your screen. I am Star Smart reporting for Undaunted ABC Amba TV.
And in sports, Premier League champions Manchester City will take on last season's Carabao Cup runner-up Chelsea in the third round of the competition at Etihad Stadium. This is one of 7 all Premier League ties, with others including Tottenham Forest versus Tottenham, and Manchester United against Aston Villa. Gab Ellison has more sports.
Latest world sports. Football. Carabao Cup draw. Man City versus Chelsea in third round. Premier League champions Manchester City will take on last season's Carabao Cup runners-up Chelsea in the third round of the competition at Etihad Stadium. That is one of 7 all-Premier League ties, with others including Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham and Manchester United against Aston Villa. Teams Newport County and Gillingham will travel to Leicester City and Brentford respectively. Premier League leaders Arsenal will play Brighton, Wolves host Leeds, Newcastle take on Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth face Everton. The third round ties will take place from 8 to 10 November. Full draw: Leicester versus Newport County, West Ham versus Blackburn, Wolves versus Leeds, Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham, Manchester United versus Aston Villa, Bournemouth versus Everton, Liverpool versus Derby, Burnley versus Crawley, Bristol City versus Lincoln, Manchester City versus Chelsea, Stevenage versus Charlton, MK Dons versus Morecambe Bay, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace, Southampton versus Sheffield Wednesday, Arsenal versus Brighton, Brentford versus Gillingham. Basketball. Kobe Bryant's widow awarded $16 million leaked crash photos payout. Kobe Bryant's widow has been awarded $16 million, 13.6 million pounds, in damages over leaked graphic photos of the helicopter crash that killed the US basketball star and his daughter in 2020. Vanessa Bryant, 40, said she had panic attacks after learning images taken by Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies and firefighters had been shared. A federal jury now said the county must pay Mrs. Bryant for emotional distress. Co-plaintiff Christopher Chester will be paid $15 million. Mrs. Bryant's husband Kobe Bryant, 41, daughter Gianna, 13, and 6 family friends died when their helicopter crashed in California in January 2020. Mr. Chester lost his wife Sarah and daughter Peyton in the crash. A report by the Los Angeles Times claiming county employees took photos at the crash site and shared them with others has enraged the victims' families. Last November, the county agreed to pay $2.5 million, 2.1 million pounds over the emotional distress caused to the 2 families who lost relatives in the crash, but Mrs. Bryant refused to settle. And sobbing on a witness stand last week, Mrs. Bryant recalled being home with her other children when she read the LA Times story. I bolted out of the house and I ran to the side of the house so the girls couldn't see me. I wanted to run down the block and just scream, she said. Mrs. Bryant said she had felt blindsided, devastated, hurt, and betrayed by news of the leak and lives in fear every day of having these images pop up on social media. I don't ever want to see these photographs, she said. I want to remember my husband and my daughter the way they were. Jurors at the trial heard how sheriff's deputies and firefighters took gruesome cell phone photos at the accident site and showed them to others, including at a bar at a gala event. These employees poured salt in an open wound and rubbed it in with their actions. Mrs. Bryant's lawyer Louis Lee said during opening statements last week, a lawyer for the county unsuccessfully argued that site photography is essential and that the photos had not been posted anywhere publicly. Bryant, a 5-time NBA champion, played for the LA Lakers throughout his career and is considered one of the greatest players in the game's history. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
And with that sports report, we have come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories.
Today, we told you that US and UN are on show trials in Ukrainian prisoners of war. Togo achieves major feat of eliminating 4 neglected tropical diseases. The Colonial Minister of Secondary Education begs teachers an overview of Undaunted as we draft.
Also today, we brought you a report of China, how they have warned Canada over planned Taiwan visits by the parliamentarians. Bishop requests for fresh dialogue to end the so-called Anglophone crisis. And in sports, we told you that Carabao Cup draw, Man City versus Chelsea meets in third round. And that was it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. On behalf of Michael Anchor Stersmat and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in. I am Onyi Okbala.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God